Welcome to this presentation on mindfulness as self-care. This presentation is part 2 of managing stress and self-care in the context of COVID-19. Studies worldwide have shown that mindfulness reduces the key indicators of chronic stress. And significantly, mindfulness has also been shown to be effective in reducing the impact of serious conditions such as chronic pain, cancer, and bolsters the immune system. In other words, this might be just the right time to start practicing mindfulness given what has been happening around us with coronavirus. I hope this presentation and the guided practice will be helpful at this very exceptional time. In this presentation, we're going to look at mindfulness meditation as a way of self-care. We'll begin with a guided mindfulness practice, which will last for about 10 minutes. This is always the best way to communicate what mindfulness is, as mindfulness is first and foremost experiential. This is one of the reasons we refer to it as a practice, because even though it's possible to talk about mindfulness, it's foremost something that has to be lived and practiced, ideally a little every day. After the practice, we'll look at a simple definition of mindfulness, as well as look at some reasons for developing a regular mindfulness practice. Part 1 of this presentation provided a rationale in terms of how stress affects the body. In this presentation, we'll develop this and also look at a model from psychologist Paul Gilbert in relation to how mindfulness can help to promote more balance between our 3 emotion systems. We'll also draw on a model that offers a helpful shorthand way of looking at shifting modes of mind from a cognitive psychology perspective, as well as some evidence from the field of neuroscience. We'll then finish with a look at 2 resources that you might find helpful in beginning to develop a regular mindfulness practice from home. So let's begin with a practice for about 10 minutes or so. So inviting you to make yourself as comfortable as possible, whether you're sitting in a chair or maybe you might prefer to lie down for this practice, or maybe you'd be most comfortable even in a standing position, just whatever posture is most comfortable to you. So just taking some time to settle into whatever position you've chosen. If you need to get another cushion or pillow, really feeling free to do that. And it might be helpful to allow your eyes to gently close if that feels okay to you, but fine to keep the eyes open. If your eyes are open, maybe just choosing to lower the gaze, not necessarily needing to focus on anything, but just allowing the gaze to perhaps be lowered. And so let's begin by bringing attention to the contact that the body is making with whatever is supporting the body just now. So if you're sitting in a chair, maybe just becoming aware of the contact that the body is making with the chair, as well as the contact that the feet are making with the floor. And perhaps noticing too the position of the arms and hands wherever they're resting. So in just whatever position or posture you've chosen, maybe also having a sense of the weight of the body moving down into contact with the support of whatever surfaces are supporting the body. And maybe also having a sense of the height or tallness of the body, moving or extending upwards. So just as best you can, giving your full attention to the moment by moment sensations of contact, maybe of weight or of pressure or maybe of temperature or tingling as you sit here or as you lie here. And if you notice that your attention gets drawn away from these sensations of direct contact, of weight or touch or pressure, then just knowing that this is a part of the practice, noticing that the mind wanders away, that the mind in many ways has a mind of its own. And so this is very much part and parcel of the practice itself. Noticing where the mind goes to, and then just as soon as we notice this, just gently and kindly escorting the attention back to the body once again, and back to an awareness of these moment by moment sensations of contact. And so if you notice that the mind is continually drawn away from an awareness of these sensations of the body, as best you can, gently escorting the attention back each time that you notice this. So as best you can, being very gentle with yourself and with the mind's tendency to wander. Now at a certain point, if you choose to, maybe shifting the focus of your attention towards your breathing and just becoming aware of the fact that you're breathing. So no need to get involved with the breath or to change your breath in any way. But just as you sit here or as you lie here, noticing the natural flow of breath into and out of the body. And just registering as best you can, wherever you can feel the sensations of the breath most clearly. So this might be at the tip of the nostrils, or it might be at the level of the chest, or it might be down in the abdomen. or it may be somewhere else in the body, but just wherever you can feel the movement of the breath sensations most clearly, most vividly. As best you can, allowing your attention to rest here. So no need to force the breath in any way. So if you're following the breath, for example, down in the abdomen, maybe just noticing the sensations of slight stretching or swelling of the abdomen on the in-breath, as well as the sensations of deflation or slight contraction of the abdomen on the out-breath. And once again, just each and every time that we notice that the mind wanders away from the breath, we just take a moment to notice where the mind had wandered to, and each and every time, very gently, very kindly, bringing the attention back once again to the sensations of the in-breath or to the out-breath. So just knowing that there is no end to the number of times we can simply begin again each time that we notice that our attention has wandered away from the breath, wandered away from the body. So we're just simply using the breath and the sensations of the breath as a kind of anchor for our attention, as a way to support ourselves in being as fully present as we can be in each moment. And at a certain point, perhaps allowing your attention to expand around the breath, to become aware of the entire body once again, and the contact that the body is making with whatever surfaces are supporting it. Maybe allowing your attention to expand further still to an awareness of the room that you're in, maybe to sounds, and then just whenever you're ready to, allowing the eyes to gently open once again if the eyes have been closed, and just slowly reorienting your attention once again to the room around you, maybe gently moving or stretching the body in just whatever way feels right for you. So, having just practiced together, we could describe mindfulness as being synonymous with awareness. However, it's awareness that's infused with qualities of compassion. So, another way to hear the word mindfulness would be to hear the word heartfulness. This perhaps better conveys what's so central to developing mindfulness and what can make it such a powerful practice. So qualities such as openness, friendliness, kindness towards our experience, curiosity, patience with ourselves. Often these qualities need to be actively cultivated within the practice. And once again, this is one of the reasons why we call it a practice, because for many of us, we really do need to actively or deliberately cultivate these qualities within ourselves. So taken together then, a useful summary of what mindfulness might be is the deliberate cultivation of kindly awareness. So why might this be something of any benefit to you? Why might you choose to develop more mindfulness? Well, as we saw in part one of this presentation, stress has profound effects on the body, and mindfulness has been shown to reduce the harmful effects of stress. So if you follow down the right-hand side of the stress figure, which is again taken from John Kabat-Zinn's book, Full Catastrophe Living, you'll see that with greater awareness, we have the possibility to become more aware of our reactions, our thoughts, feelings, and how we are perceiving the source of threat to us. Even though there may still be arousal through activation of the brain regions responsible for preparing the body for fight, flight, or freeze, there is also awareness of how the body is reacting. This can be a very useful cue to responding more mindfully to stress. For example, by taking our attention to our breathing or to our physical posture, as well as noticing what may be occurring in the mind, including our impulses to act in perhaps unhelpful ways. This means that we are much more likely to see the stress in a bigger context and be aware of more options available to us in how to respond. This also means that we are more likely to regain our composure and that the body will come back into a state of homeostasis much quicker, overall reducing the toxic effects of stress on the body-mind. This diagram is taken from the work of psychologist Paul Gilbert, and it describes three emotion systems, which also acts as a useful summary for understanding the role of mindfulness in relation to stress or threat. So as the diagram shows, you can see that we possess three different emotion systems, each with their own purpose and associated brain regions. There are also specific feelings and hormones in the body associated with each system. And these three systems have evolved to help us to adapt and survive, and we need all three to be working in balance and in cooperation with one another. However, when we're experiencing severe stress or threat, such as the time we are in now with COVID-19 or with any illness, chances are that these systems get out of balance. And often what we find is that people are mainly in the threat system. What mindfulness can help us to do is to bring these three systems into more balance with one another, and especially can allow us to enhance the green system or the soothing system. This system is associated with feelings of safety, connection, and contentment, and is associated with the production of the hormone oxytocin, which is sometimes referred to as the cuddle hormone. What's especially interesting about this system is that it is also associated with increased production of the body's own natural painkillers or opiates. So when the soothing system is operating effectively and we can access this, it acts to support and enhance the body's own capacity to respond to pain. This model is another way to represent what's happening when we're practicing mindfulness, and it comes from the work of Professor Mark Williams, formerly at Oxford University. This model shows two modes of mind, one which is highly prized in our school and academic system, which is associated with thinking, and this more conceptual mode of mind has to do with planning, analyzing, comparing, goal setting, and remembering, skills that can be highly useful and beneficial in navigating the world and achieving our goals. The other mode of mind has to do with sensing, and we're naturally experts in this mode of mind from the time we're infants, as this is how we make sense of the world. However, as the thinking mode of mind becomes predominant as we grow and age and learn, we can often lose touch with this sensory mode of mind, which offers us an alternative to the often overemphasized thinking mode. In fact, we often begin to identify who we are much more on the basis of thinking than trusting our senses available to us. Now, when it comes to navigating stress, more thinking about our stress often doesn't help, as we often not only try to solve our sources of stress through thinking, but often we become trapped by our thoughts about the stresses we're facing. Mindfulness helps us to recognize when we have become lost in this thinking mode of mind and offers us an alternative to reconnect to the present moment through any one of our senses. Another way to think about this model is to understand thinking mode of mind as a doing mode of mind, which often becomes a kind of obsessive or driven doing mode. The alternative is the sensory-based being mode of mind. Given that we're given the name human beings and not human doings, this hints at valuing the importance of inhabiting this mode of mind as an antidote to stress. By way of evidencing some of this work, let's take a look at a piece of research carried out by Norman Farb from the University of Wisconsin. His work revealed two distinct modes of self-reference that reflect Mark Williams' two modes of mind very nicely. His research was conducted using functional MRI imaging of the brain as participants were lying in an MRI scanner and asked to engage in a task of either thinking about themselves or being present. The abstract concludes with the sentence, "These results suggest a fundamental neural dissociation between two distinct forms of self-awareness that are habitually integrated but can be dissociated through attentional training, the self across time and in the present moment." So just to follow up on Norman Farb's work, brain imaging shows how sensation flows from our body into brain regions associated with present moment awareness, shown here in blue, often activating a connected set of brain regions associated with descriptions, narratives, and evaluations, shown here in red, and which correspond with Mark Williams' model very nicely. Mindfulness training appears to weaken this body narrative association. And in Norman Farb's study, there was a marked difference between people with no experience of mindfulness and those who had been practicing mindfulness for just 8 weeks. This is significant because, as we saw in the first part of this presentation, so much of our stress is compounded and made worse by how we think about things. So with the experience of pain, for example, the degree to which a person thinks about or gets pulled into certain unhelpful narratives around the pain is often the degree to which the person is likely to influence how much pain they actually feel. So having engaged in some mindfulness practice together, as well as having taken a look at a definition of mindfulness and some models or ways of understanding mindfulness, just to conclude with a couple of recommendations in terms of resources to support you if you're interested in engaging in more regular mindfulness practice. So both are books that come with accompanying audio CDs. The first is called Mindfulness: Finding Peace in a Frantic World by Mark Williams and Danny Penman. And it also comes in the form of an audio book or an app that you can download to your phone. And the second is a book called Mindfulness for Beginners by John Kabat-Zinn. So both are very accessible and are excellent places to begin to establish a daily mindfulness practice for yourself at home. So I hope this presentation has been useful, and I wish you well in your mindfulness practice and in managing your stress at this very unusual and stressful time of COVID-19.